All right, y'all. So I wanted to take a look at this with all of you. This is a missing persons case here in Pittsburgh from the 80s, I believe. It's a little girl named Cherrie Mahan. She was getting off the bus one day and then never heard from her ever again. And local news network around here kind of put this story together. So I want to take a look at it and see what went on.
February 22nd, 1985, 35 years ago, this coming Saturday, 8-year-old Cherrie Mahan got off her school bus in Butler County and vanished. All these years later, without any evidence to the contrary, police say it's possible that Cherrie Mahan is alive.
That, of course, is also the hope of her mother. Tonight, this stunning revelation she made to John Shumway about who may have taken her daughter.
It's like your heart has been snapped in half, and it will never go back together again.
For more than half her life, Janice McKinney has been searching faces, searching for her daughter, Cherrie Mahan.
It's a torment. I've been tormented since the day she was...
But so the whole point of this is it's inconclusive whether or not she's still alive or not. My first question is, if this person were still alive, if this little girl grew up, I mean, this person would be in their 40s now? Almost 50 years old. So, I mean, wouldn't that person have ever likely have had an opportunity to reach out and contact the mother or let anyone know that they were still alive? I mean, I guess maybe unless they were kept away for an extended period of time and they didn't develop like other humans and they were manipulated and but that would be a very long game in my opinion. I mean, to do that to another human and to make sure that they never escape or, you know, they live under your control like that decades, that's a big responsibility that someone would have to take. So I don't know, like say Cherrie got away. Say Cherrie got away and, you know, lived into adulthood and I mean, wouldn't she eventually be discovered some way, somehow?
Was taken. Is she alive? Is she not alive? Is she okay? Is she not okay? Is she with somebody? Are they taking care of her? Are they not taking care of her? Does she miss me? Does she want me? Does she know me? You know, these things run in my head every single day of my life.
I can't imagine the pain that must cause a parent. I mean, to have their child taken from them. I mean, how old was she when she was abducted? She was born in 76, abducted in 85. Okay, so she was like 9. To have your 9-year-old daughter taken from you and not know anything about it. Wow.
It was here on rural Corn Planter Road that 8-year-old Cherrie got off the school bus at the bottom of the hill near her home that day 35 years ago. Janice and her husband Leroy were in their mobile home at the top of the hill.
We heard the bus come and 5-10 minutes, Leroy's like, maybe she fell, do you want me to go down? I'm like, go check. And he went down, he checked, she wasn't there.
The kids on the bus and the bus driver told Janice and Leroy that Cherrie did get off the bus.
It's just what happened from the time she got off that bus till she walked back, headed towards our drive.
Okay, so it kind of looks like on Corn Planter Road here, there are some bends and something that maybe someone could have been hiding behind. I mean, assuming that she was abducted. I mean, I don't understand what else would have happened in the few minutes that she was dropped off from the bus and didn't walk up the hill that day. So there probably had to have been some car or some person on foot hiding like in a bend like this or something. And they knew, it had to have been premeditated. I mean, this wasn't by chance. They knew that the bus was going to come at that time and drop the kid off. And I wonder if they were targeting Cherrie. Was Cherrie the person that they actually wanted to abduct? Because if she was getting off the bus and she was with other kids, was it that person's goal to take Cherrie or just a kid in general?
Driveway.
Police were called, darkness set in, the searches were on. Cherrie got off the bus in her gray coat, denim skirt, white leotard, blue leggings, and Cabbage Patch earmuffs. It was only a short walk from the bus stop to her driveway and up the hill to home.
There was nobody that was a stranger to her. If you said her name, she thought you knew her. So did somebody know her? Did somebody, conk her on the head and drag her in a car? Or did they say, hey, Cherrie, your mom said we're to pick you up and get in the car? Someday I'm gonna know.
The searches and the
So it kind of sounds like it was done by someone that knew either the parents or knew the child. And I know that is the case for most abductions. Most people who get abducted, as a child like this, it's by someone that they know or someone that they are associated to. It's not random, which I think that this was targeted. I think it was premeditated because that person knew that they were going to be dropped off at that time by the bus and they were going to be isolated because obviously, you can't abduct a kid while there's like a group of them. They had to wait until Cherrie was out of sight because if the other kids saw who took them, it's like, well, then the chase is on. But if Cherrie is isolated and alone and you abduct her, it's probably a lot less likely that you would find her. So it's probably a lot of planning went into this, which is twisted.
volunteer hours stretched on for days. Over the years, there have been age progression pictures developed, but still no answers.
This is kind of like what I mean. If this woman grew up and to live into her 40s and everything, she would have reached out or something, like a blood test, something. I don't know. No one unless she was like thoroughly brainwashed or manipulated or just severely. And that would take many, many years and a lot of responsibility. And just like I'm just trying to think of it from a psychopath's point of view. I think that it's unlikely. I don't think it's impossible, but I think it's unlikely that something like this would have gone on all these years later. Because this video was posted in 2019, 2020. So this is still active.
It's amazing after all these years, we still get a lot of inquiries. We get a lot of information, a lot of tips. Sometimes we get a couple a week. Other times it may go months and we don't hear anything.
Children on the bus told police that day they saw a conversion van with a skier painted on the side.
There's been a lot of vans that we looked at. There was a lot of vans that we actually processed forensically, and unfortunately, once again, didn't really lead us anywhere.
To understand the depth of this.
Okay. So something I want to point out that I saw in the comments, this little design right here on the van, this van. So there were people, I don't know if it's under the comments of this video, it might have been of another video that I looked at, but people were saying that this exact van that was described that the other kids saw when Cherrie was abducted that day, or the kids on the bus saw, people said that this van was frequently parked outside of a mall close to Pittsburgh. I think it was Century 3 Mall, which I don't think is open anymore. I think it's shut down, or maybe there's only like a few stores in it anymore. But people recognize this van because it was frequently parked at a nearby mall, which is interesting that that information never really went anywhere. If a lot of people are noticing this is a very distinct car too. I don't know. I guess like if I were to think about it, if I was abducting someone and I was trying to blend in and I was trying to not get noticed, I don't know if it would be my idea to drive around a van that was as unique as this to not get noticed. So,
and unfortunately, once again, didn't really lead us anywhere.
To understand the depth of this mother's despair, you need to know this.
I got raped and had Cherrie when I was 16 years old, and she was it for me, everything. I never left that house without her. We were always together. We grew up together. She was my life.
Janice, do you think there is a connection between the rape Cherrie's birth and 8 years later her disappearance.
I do. I believe that, but I can't prove anything.
Janice McKinney says authorities did not believe her rape allegation.
Was the rapist ever charged?
No.
But today you believe that the man you say raped you may have had something to do with Cherrie's disappearance.
In a roundabout way, yes.
Roundabout because she does not believe.
Okay. Now that introduces a component to this that makes it a whole lot more interesting. So, like we said earlier, most abductions are by people that we know about. And she said that Cherrie was conceived through sex that was coerced. So I don't know. Does that throw a component into it where it was like, now we don't know anything. I mean, was the mom, like, did she have sole custody? Was she keeping Cherrie from the biological father? Did they have a bad relationship? Or was that person trying to steal Cherrie away to get custody? Because I feel like that happens in a lot of cases, like a lot of child abduction cases. It's actually just the other parent or a relative that wants custody of the kid. And then, I don't know, maybe the biological father, or he might have hired someone to abduct Cherrie so that he could get custody of it. And then once they realized how big this got in the community and how much news this sparked, they panicked and didn't really know what to do. And it kind of went messy from there. So she's kind of telling us here that there's a component to the story that we don't know much about. And she was kind of being vague about it. In a roundabout way, I think that person was somehow involved. Okay. So it wasn't just one of the kids at the bus stop that day. Cherrie was being targeted.
Believe that Cherrie's biological father is a suspect.
Not him personally, but the people that he knows, yes.
Police are aware of McKinney's suspicions.
Oh, okay. So say the father was caught up in some business, some type of dealings or debt that he wasn't supposed to be caught up in. Maybe this was a very egregious way that someone was getting back at the biological father. It's like, well, and you see that in, I mean, really the only reference I have to pull from that is from movies. It's like, well, I mean, you can't pay your debts, or you did something to me, so I'm going to go after the people you love. Which, I mean, it happens.
And they've told her that the man has been adamant in his denials. The only thing they'll tell us about suspects.
Anybody that was implicated, until we find evidence otherwise, they still would be considered a suspect.
Over the years, there have been frenzied moments of hope, like the possible sightings of women who could have been Cherrie in Michigan and New Jersey. Both were ruled out. And more recently, the call to the nursing home where Janice works from a woman claiming to be Cherrie.
They were like ecstatic. Oh my God, it's Cherrie. Cherrie got found,
It gave us hope that this potentially was Cherrie. We looked at pictures with the family. We also took fingerprints, and ultimately it was discovered that it was not Cherrie.
I mean, there are very mean people out there, that try to, get into the story, I guess.
Case in point, a handwritten letter that arrived a couple of years ago. So brutally specific, we are blurring its contents. But it spells out Cherrie's death and burial.
It was very graphic and cruel to me.
Okay, so this was posted in 2020. So sometime between 2015 and 2020, this happened in 85. 1985 was when this abduction happened. Someone recently wrote this mom a letter like this. I mean, it just makes you think, like, people out there are really like that screwed up to do something like this. Like, that the mom is still looking for the daughter. That this has been haunting her whole life. How much pain this causes her. And, like, you're going to troll her like this. So is it like an obsessed fan? I I use that word with like a question mark on the end of it. Like someone obsessed with the case, or is it just someone trying to mess with the mom? Like, I don't really understand the motive or what anyone would get out of doing something like this. But again, I mean, similar to the people involved with this abduction, they're twisted people out there.
We actually, followed up on it to the point where we were investigating people outside of the Commonwealth. The FBI got involved and helped us out. We also went to a property that the letter mentioned.
And Cherrie's mom was right there with them.
I just want to be there in case they find her or in case they find just bones. I want to be there. I want to see it. I want to know what happened.
But like all the other leads,
unfortunately, that letter as a whole hasn't been very fruitful to this point.
Janice says the unknown created a pain she could not handle, and initially she turned to drugs, selling everything they had.
Just to get another high because that pain was killing me.
Only Leroy's strong arm kept her from jumping out of their truck on Route 8.
I was going to jump out because that car behind me was going to squish me like a bug, and I didn't care because the only thing that I cared about was taking.
Oh my. So I mean, really, when this little girl was abducted that day, they kind of took 2 lives, because it kind of seems like since the 80s, this woman really hasn't had any quality of life. I mean, her whole quality of life has been thinking about what may have happened to her daughter. So really, they took 2 lives that day.
Taken from me, and I didn't care what happened.
But a couple of years after Cherrie disappeared, Janice shook herself out of her spiral of self-destruction and learned what she hopes others will take to heart: the power of forgiveness.
Without forgiveness, I was just eating myself alive.
She reached deep in her faith to find forgiveness for whoever took Cherrie.
And that's what gave me peace in my life, to forgive somebody that I didn't know, because I was killing myself.
But even harder, she says.
How do you go about finding forgiveness in something like this, for someone to take your child, what has a child done to you or to anyone? Nothing. To take that away from you. How would you even go about beginning the steps of forgiving someone like that? Or forgiving someone that might be involved in someone like that? I mean, like, I don't know, because I've never been in that situation, and I've never, felt what this feels like, this type of pain. But you just have to think, I mean, are there some things in life that are unforgivable? I mean, I don't know. But I also see the other point of this. It's not healthy to hang on to this anger. It's not healthy to hang on to this false hope. So I mean, you do have to make peace with it. I think that is an important part of it. But forgiveness, that's a tricky one.
She had to learn to forgive the guilt she feels as a mother.
Guilt? Why do you say guilt?
Because I wasn't there that day. I was not there up until that day. I was there every day to pick her up after school, every single day. And that day, I was not. That guilt can kill you.
On her.
Oh. Okay, so she was saying all the other days that Cherrie had gotten dropped off the bus, she walked to the bottom of the hill to get Cherrie, to walk back up the hill back to the trailer. But that day she didn't walk down the hill. So it kind of makes you think, I mean, was that person showing up every day in hopes that the mom wasn't going to be there to escort Cherrie up the hill? I mean, how many attempts were made prior to Cherrie's abduction that the mom actually was there and was able to prevent the, potential abduction? I mean, maybe Cherrie was being targeted for a long time, and that was just the first opportunity that they got to finally go through with it. That's kind of a spooky concept. But I mean, as far as blaming yourself like that and carrying that guilt with you for over 30 years, I don't know. I just feel like if someone is is dedicated enough to want to bring harm to someone like that or abduct them or do something, I mean, eventually they're going to make an attempt. Eventually something is going to happen. I mean, you can't be that protective safety net, that bubble over your child for as long as you live. It's, you may want to, but I mean, she was 9 years old at the bus stop. I mean, if that person had been targeting Cherrie since she was 5, and then this was their first opportunity to do something, and for the 4 years that they had been stalking Cherrie, I mean, really, that's kind of like saying, well, yeah, I wasn't here on this day when Cherrie got abducted, but I mean, what about when Cherrie turned 12 or 13 years old and she was at the shopping mall with her friends and she got abducted there? I mean, you can't be there in every single scenario for your child that's growing up. And I don't know. I hate to see the mom blame herself like this.
Shoulder and near her heart, Janice wears reminders of her daughter and every day prays for the relief of that call.
That would be a blessing to me if they would call me and just say it's over.
Now, Cherrie was legally...
Okay, so whomever is involved in why Cherrie was abducted all those years ago, I mean, they have to be in their 60s or 70s by now. So if someone is alive right now that knows what happened to Cherrie, I don't think that they're very interested in spending out the last 10 or 15 years of their life in a cell. So I'd imagine that secret will be taken to the grave, which is unfortunate because that will never bring closure to the situation. But I do feel like the mom... I really can't. That's not even fair for me to say. I was going to say, I feel like if I was the mom, I would have done and made peace with this and tried to find a way past this decades ago. But really, in this kind of situation, you never know what you're going to do. You don't know how that's going to make you feel. You don't know if that's going to shatter your world and completely change the way you view things. So that's not fair for me to say. But I see someone that never moved on from this. And that's kind of what I mean when I say that 2 lives were taken when Cherrie got abducted. Because, I mean, this mom kind of sounds like she's gone through it. Her whole life has been dedicated to finding her daughter, which I do not think is going to come to fruition. But yeah, I mean, I think that the last minute and a half of this, they just talk about, the case or whatever. And if you have information, you can please call the whatever line. But I think that this is a pretty well-known case throughout Pittsburgh. I think that this hill that she got abducted at or whatever, Corn Planter Road, it's only 45 minutes away from me. So I think this is east. Corn Planter Road is northeast of Pittsburgh. So yeah. But all right, well, that's the story of Cherrie Mahan. Let me know what you all think about this, or if you just have comments about the way that the mom kind of has lived her life, or just things like that. Just listening to this, it sounds like it was premeditated. It sounds like this was done by someone that the mom was associated with back in the 70s or 80s that had to do with the original coercion of sex. So I think that these were kind of this was the wrong crowd, and Cherrie was just collateral damage. That's kind of what it comes across as me. But I guess there's an opportunity, there's a possibility that we might never know. But thanks for watching. That was the story of Cherrie.